The Brad Rules!
Sonic 4 Episode 1 was released almost 15 years ago. Yeah, that's right, it's time for one of those videos where we look back at a game after a certain amount of time and see how well it aged, how well it holds up, and if my opinion has changed on it. So I did a video on Sonic 4 back in 2020 where I did an in-depth look at both Episode 1 and 2, and overall I conclude that it wasn't my ideal vision for Sonic 4, but it wasn't a bad game. Neither episode was bad. Especially not Episode 2. Episode 1, which we are talking about again here today, is certainly the worst of the two episodes. The fandom's reaction to it was overdone back during the release of Episode 1, but there are a few things that I can concur with, so let's get into it. Sonic 4 Episode 1 started life in development as Sonic the Portable, a mobile game, but along the way Sega figured that the game would be better served if it branched out and was made available on all platforms, so the game was renamed Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1. And made to be the long-awaited sequel to Sonic 3 and Knuckles. When I first heard this, I was excited. Very excited. My favorite Sonic game of all time was finally getting a direct sequel. There were so many possibilities, new levels, new characters, new features to be had. This was going to be a major Sonic event, to say the least. But it just simply wasn't. It was a Sonic game. It was Sonic 4, but it wasn't the Sonic 4 we deserved. So development was handled in large part by Dimps, with Sonic Team playing a very minimal role. But you'd think with a team like Dimps that is responsible for developing the Sonic Advance trilogy, we'd be getting a banger of a game. First off, what in the world is up with Sonic's sprite? He just looks horrible. Honestly, I played this on an even larger screen than what I played it on in 2020, and it looks horrifically bad. He looks so shiny, like there was an attempt at lighting, but it just went horribly wrong. And it's not even a clear looking sprite, it's so messy looking, it's not even a crisp, clean sprite. How was this considered okay? Sonic Advance 2 and 3 have some of the best looking sprites in any 2D Sonic game, so how in the hell do we end up with this? Now granted, this is the first episode, but why would you start off with just Sonic and Eggman being the only featured characters? No Tails, no Knuckles, the only two characters are who we started off with in Sonic 1. This is Sonic 4, so why are we going back to basics? It makes no sense. Also, nothing interesting is happening story-wise. Sonic has split off from his friends to go exploring and must foil Eggman's latest plot, and that's about it. Everything is basically a repeat. Splash Hill Zone is a carbon copy of Green Hill, Casino Street is Casino Night, Lost Labyrinth Zone adds an extra word, and Mad Gear at least changes its name to differentiate itself from Metropolis Zone. We get some different looking gimmicks thrown in to spice things up, and things are mixed in from other zones, like the cannons from Carnival Night Zone being in Casino Street, and a wall that chases you like it does in Hydro City Zone is featured in Labyrinth Zone. Sometimes you get some cool spectacle like Sonic running along the cards in Casino Street and the drill machine chasing after you in Mad Gear. Some things do not work at all, like stopping to solve this rather jarringly confusing torch puzzle in Lost Labyrinth Act 2, or the rather bad animation of him balancing on these boulders in Act 1. But overall, they all feel like inferior versions of the zones they're meant to emulate. The Egg Station is where the game wraps up, and again, it's a retread as it is virtually Death Egg Zone from Sonic 2, featuring a boss rush. The final boss fight is even with the Death Egg robot. Being that this is Sonic 4, why would Eggman go back to using the same robot that failed in Sonic 2? Eggman uses a lot of the same tactics as he did in the original versions of these zones, but will have a pinch attack where he wilds out, which is kinda cool. I do like how Eggman lures you through an obstacle course in Lost Labyrinth, much like the original stage, only to find yourself in a trap, which is the actual boss fight. Mad Gear features a orbital scroller boss fight, which reminds me greatly of Advance 2, so that's cool. Why would a game that is called Sonic 4 need so many callbacks? I can see how in a game like Sonic Advance 1, there were some callbacks because that was a handheld game and Sonic was still being introduced to Nintendo fans. But even that game had way more originality. Also, Sonic Generations was already on the way to breathe a host of nostalgia into the series. Okay, so I get it that this originally was supposed to be a mobile game, but come on, if this was hyped up to be a big release and it's a mainline Sonic game, why have it be a retread? Once again, this is Sonic 4, it's not a spin-off, where there's room to fuck around. These should be the most on-point entries in this series, and that goes for any video game franchise. So Sonic has his homing attack, and I don't really have a problem with this, but it's not really used in any interesting ways. There's always a line of the Badnik bubbles, which Sonic can use to reach a higher path, and this is the primary way it's used. Sonic also feels very sluggish and stiff, and the wind-up to get him to full speed is pretty damn slow compared to almost any other game. The spin dash is nerfed, and the physics are almost worthless because you can just simply walk up any slope with minimal effort. You don't need to have momentum behind your movements to move Sonic around, even though the game's level design suggests that you would need to. It just feels off, and I don't know why Dimps did this when they pretty much had things perfect in terms of physics in the Advance series. It's crazy to me how much people rank on Dimps, but always conveniently forget that this company is responsible for making some great Sonic games, including the Sonic Rush series. So it's not like this was some small incompetent developer who didn't know their ass from their elbow. I am one of the few who enjoys the Sonic 1 special stages, and I like the concept of how instead of moving Sonic, you move the stage itself, which is pretty innovative. They're timed, and you collect rings to unlock gates that bring you closer to the Chaos Emeralds. So these are actually pretty well thought out and designed. I like them quite a bit actually. And finally, the music. I have to admit, I do enjoy quite a bit of this music, and I know some people have a problem with the style of instrumentation, but the compositions are actually really good. I'm sorry if you call my taste into question, but I love all the Splash Hill music. Mad Gear Act 2's music, and the boss pinch music is great too. In fact, the instrumentation is better here than it is in episode 2, where that piece of music is straight up the boss music. So Sonic 4 Episode 1 is most definitely a mixed bag. I like some of it, I truly do. It's not a bad game, it's not full of bugs or features, anything too annoying or off-putting. This is a game where the hate for it gets overblown, almost like the majority of Sonic games. This is not a disastrous game in the least bit. It plays well enough, despite the physics engine being quite questionable. There's nothing that screams, oh my god, this is so bad. It's just a disappointing game. It is called Sonic 4 after all, and it failed to deliver on its namesake. And that's the biggest problem I have with this game. The name of this game was wasted on what was a mere retread and not a full-fledged sequel to one of the best video games of all time. I don't know if Sega wanted the game to be like how it was from conceptualization, and they forced Dimps to make the game so full of callbacks because they were doing some really cool and original stuff in the handheld titles. So I am inclined to believe that this was mandated by Sega. Overall, it should have been an epic game, but instead it became a low-effort affair that just didn't hit the mark at all. Now, things improved quite a bit with Episode 2, but it still wasn't the Sonic 4 it should have been. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you like Sonic 4 Episode 1? And do you agree that Episode 2 was definitely a lot better? I would love to know in the comments. And guys, please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bells to get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my subscribers for your continued support. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.